like that. And it makes sense. So getting back to this rebranding of microaggression and the inability, first of all, the oxymoron, the idea of the calling it micro, and it's, just both words don't work. It's not aggressive.
No.
I mean, I got the whole thing. I understood clearly. I didn't even know it needed a rebrand, and now I'm on board. But I think as a diverse person and a diverse owned business myself, I think what I love the most, especially at the end of the book, was about the idea that we all commit these subtle acts of exclusion. And it's okay, right? It's your it's intent is there, but it's the impact that's really important and what we're accountable for. And if you come to it, no malice, just trying to learn. People are generally forgiving, but I think sometimes even it just because you pointed it out, and because I happen to believe with you that some of that subtle acts of exclusion and these ideas are coming up sort of in what you said in terms of how sometimes supplier diversity folks approach and the programs approach diverse businesses, some being better than others or easier to identify, when in reality, all oppression is a problem. And we'll never get to the real gold and the benefits of a person's diverse experience that brings you the cutting edge technology or viewpoint or idea or patent. We all lose out. Right? We all lose out. So I think there's space there to really even bring that to bear and bring that forward. And my hope is that you do step into the supplier diversity space, specifically because of your perspective. Not everybody has a business background, business degree, right? So that's credibility, right? You already have the D&I. So this is a recruiting call. Did I tell you? No. I'm getting that. But you have the business background, education-wise, but then practically you've done it. You have the DEI experience. I mean, a strong leader like you that gives people hope, like I should stand up too. They have a point. My voice, it doesn't mean you have to plaster it all over your website, right? It's just a certification. You bring it up when it's time. But I think it's the voice, it's the power, it's the love and freedom you have of being an entrepreneur. And then one thing that happened for me, I met an LGBT-owned business, husbands who had patented technology, and they were over 40. They were a lawyer and a graphic artist. So they have this tech firm. They come up with this technology, and it really was it's been a struggle for them to really find the support. It's like it was square peg, round hole. It just wasn't happening. There's so much out there in terms of talent, innovation, ideas, but it's blocked, it's stifled. A new world order requires us to be able to, as a country, lean in to our diversity, lean in to and embrace these different viewpoints and their ideas. And what I'm finding is, and what I know to be true, is that a lot of talent, a lot of ideas, a lot of invention is out there, but it's stifled, it's stuck, you know what I mean? So how do we get someone like you to speak out more? And I mean, Start Out is a great place. In that world, though, they're really small and they're early on. There's a group of businesses, some of them, multi-million dollar, double-digit millions of dollars businesses, good and sizable, but they're not out, right? And this is like an infrastructure that's got to come together, a voice that's got to come together, a voice that's got to say, Mr. Brand, X, you have to have more than a float at Pride. I mean, that doesn't suffice, and it's not equivalent. It's not equal to investing back in our community and building. And so I just want to hear what you think about that.
Yeah. So is there a mechanism right now that promotes or incentivizes cooperative economics? Because that's one of the most powerful, like when you think about the communities, you think about Asian communities, they shop with themselves. You think about Indian communities, they shop with themselves. You think about, all of the little Italy and the little whatevers, right? it seems that the starting place, like, yes, visibility would be great, accountability would be great. These are things that are needed. But if that is the case, and it makes sense because just statistically by the numbers, we know how many of us are approximately, on the queer spectrum, and that's a sizable number. So it would stand to reason that many businesses are as well. I feel like the supplier diversity starting place needs to be start at the top. What is the upper tier, the upper echelon of queer owned businesses, and starting with their supply chains? Like, they need to model the way and say, we are in part of this community and we are going to actively, aggressively, intentionally support our community. So they model the way, and then that message gets spread out. So basically they know that they understand the benefit of the diversity that comes with who we are. And so when they are intentional about doing business with their own, right, with that level of diversity, that should be tracked, measured, followed. I'm obsessed with data. But that impact of those choices should be tracked and measured and followed. And that needs to become a visible case study that we can then share out to the rest of the world as they're considering. Because the bottom line is, when you're looking for a good, a service, a product, whatever, and you're looking for supplier diversity, you're not always going to find the perfect fit within a particular demographic. And what the LGBTQ IA community does is it expands that base of options significantly. And so, it just makes it, because what happens is that people end up defaulting to white male-owned businesses because there are the most of them. Right. There are the most of them. But if you suddenly say, look, supplier diversity equals all of these things, and look at all of these options. So we need, I don't know what the central repositories look like in terms of, seeking out and finding. And the other thing that people like, I wish that the business case for diversity was always inspired by doing the right thing. But at the end of the day, people are looking to avoid liability, and they're looking for some kind of credibility. So if you're going to get the Fortune 100s and the Fortune 500s to engage with our communities in this way, then they're going to need some serious visible kudos and accolades. Like, I went to the GLAAD Gala last year and part of their fundraiser. That was awesome. And I can see that there are, groups that are very serious about it, but we need to make sure that we are lifting up the companies that are intentional in that way, because they are motivated by that gold star.